Bring in Hudson Institute Senior Fellow Rebeccah Heinrichs. Rebeccah, welcome.
Thanks. Good to be here.
So, Prime Minister Netanyahu going forward with his plan to take control of Gaza City. Let's play a clip from him, and I'll get you to react to him.
Israel will have overriding security responsibility. A security zone will be established on Gaza's border with Israel to prevent future terrorist incursions. A civilian administration will be established in Gaza that will seek to live in peace with Israel. Given Hamas's refusal to lay down its arms, Israel has no choice but to finish the job and complete the defeat of Hamas.
How risky is this plan?
Well, it's risky. None of the options before Bibi Netanyahu are good, but his primary concern is for the security and well-being of the Israeli people. He's the head of that country after October 7th, when Hamas invaded Israel and killed so many civilians. Netanyahu was very clear that they're going to continue this military campaign into Gaza until Hamas is eliminated. The challenge here and the paradox here is that Hamas is now where all of the Palestinian civilians are. Israel's eliminated about 35 to 50% of those Hamas fighters, but the Hamas fighters are now hiding among the civilians. And so the intent here on Israel is to go into the region and, as Netanyahu said, free the Palestinian people from the terrorism that is Hamas.
All right, to the Ukraine war, great anticipation about President Trump going face-to-face with Vladimir Putin on Friday in Alaska. A former senior official in the Obama era talked about it. Let's play him.
I support talking to U.S. adversaries. That's something I've always believed in, but not in a way that is just for the vanity of the American president. Putin thinks he can, get Trump to agree to whatever he wants, and so I think it's important that the whole thing is not wholly dependent on these two men talking to each other.
What are your expectations, Rebeccah?
Well, I mean, look, I think President Trump wants to end the war. Clearly, the United States is on the side of Ukraine, wants Ukraine to be strong and sovereign, and has to impose a cost on the Russians. So President Trump, really, remember, he just sent those nuclear submarines towards the Russians because former Russian President Medvedev was issuing irresponsible nuclear threats towards the United States. President Trump just had an executive order to sanction Indian oil funding the Russian war machine, and he just authorized more weapons to Ukraine. And so now he's trying to bring these countries together to get to a conclusion that both countries can accept and that doesn't allow Russia to reconstitute and impose more violence in Europe.
What about Zelensky? Should he be in Alaska? Initially, he sounded like giving up territory was a non-starter. Now he may be softening his tone a bit. What about that?
I think President Zelensky should be there. I think it should be Zelensky with President Trump and Putin. This is Zelensky's country. He's the elected, democratically legitimate leader of Ukraine. And so Ukraine has a say in how this war ends. And so I think he should be there. My understanding is the U.S. administration is still considering that. I don't think Putin is going to want that because Putin has this wrong belief that Zelensky is not the legitimate leader because Putin, of course, wants a Ukrainian nation that is not existent as a sovereign nation at all, but is really just, in the sort of control of Russia. But I do think it would be smart for the United States to push to insist Zelensky's there.
I've covered Washington politics since George W. Bush. I've seen president after president get frustrated with Vladimir Putin. What about the frustration level if he comes in not serious?
Well, I don't think there's really any evidence at this point that Putin is serious because Putin still has maximalist demands about territory and peoples that does not belong to Russia against Ukraine. But I think President Trump has been clear now that he wants the war to stop. And so we'll see what happens. I think more sanctions could be coming, more weapons. The Europeans want to buy more weapons from the United States. We have the best weapons in the world. We can supply Europeans and Ukraine more weapons. And so I think, President Trump has been clear that he's willing to use all kinds of tools of American power to impose costs on the adversary who is to blame for this war, and that's Russia.
And does agreeing to a face-to-face meeting show courage by the American president because it may not turn out great?
I think that it demonstrates that he's willing to do anything to get to the end of this. Remember, he did this with Kim Jong-un during the first administration. We are certainly not on the side of the North Koreans. And so I think this claim that President Trump is showing favoritism towards Russia by meeting with Putin is wrong. I think it's silly. I think it's fine to engage with him. But I do think it's important that the country that is defending itself, that is on the side of the United States and our NATO allies, Ukraine, that their leader is present as well.
Late afternoon Friday, the president announced a peace agreement between Azerbaijan and Armenia. Probably a lot of folks at home are wondering how big of a deal that is. How big is it?
Oh, it's a major, almost miracle-like. My colleagues at Hudson Institute have written about this quite a bit. I mean, those two countries are right in Russia's backyard. So to have the United States come in, it wasn't Putin who could broker a peace deal. It was the president of the United States. Incredibly important strategic interest there to have the United States there, to open up trade routes to make sure they're safe, and for Azerbaijan to be a safe place to bring oil into Europe so that the EU can diversify, get off of Russian oil, and have a country that's an ally and a partner of the United States, Azerbaijan, be the one exporting oil to the EU.
So big economic impact there as well if with this deal.
Yeah, big economic impact. It's good for the United States. And it really is a humiliation for Putin. This is an undercovered sort of aspect of this. Right as President Trump is making this move, trying to force Putin and possibly Zelensky to be at the negotiating table, the United States just did a major power play, pulling this issue out of Russia's claws. And by the way, your last segment about how President Trump's going to bring safety and security to D.C., really important for Americans to see what's going on here. We can bring safety and security here to Americans at home while at the same time engaging in strong peace through strength activity abroad. Really important.
Rebeccah, I could listen to you all afternoon, but we have to run. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Mike.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.